All right. Hello, welcome to the webinar today. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to get right into it here. So for our agenda today, we'll go through the panelists, myself and Matt Kaplan, who I'll go through a little bit more on the next slide. I'll spend hopefully less than 5 minutes talking about XenTegra. And then we'll get into the meat of the webinar around optimizing security and finding success with Microsoft 365 and Azure regarding ROI. Matt Kaplan will go through that, and part of that will be focusing on driving cloud and IT excellence, and then we'll move into some questions at the end. So, a panelist. So, myself, I'm Andy Sulak, Microsoft Practice Director for XenTegra. Been working with different Microsoft technologies for longer than I probably want to say, and was definitely at the forefront of everything moving to the cloud. And of course, it's continuation of moving to the cloud and the fun and challenges around managing that when it comes to the technical aspects as well as the cost and management aspects. And then joining me today from Insentra, who was our strategic alliance partner that we partner with to deliver services. We have Matt Kaplan, Global Head of Customer Success. Matt and I have known each other for quite a while. We worked together just a few years back because, hey, it's a small world, and it's always good to keep ties. So Matt will go through this in a little bit, go through the content. I'm going to continue on with a little bit of intro on who is XenTegra. So Andy Whiteside is our CEO, and straight out of his mouth is XenTegra was born out of the need for customer enablement and true partnership. What it really means is that a partner should be not just there for when orders need to be taken, but help customers and clients get the most out of their IT investment from the experience and the ability for XenTegra as a partner to leverage every every edge and every benefit that you can get out of your IT spend, as well as just having a relationship that if you just have questions, if you need a little bit of help here and there, we're always here for you, and not just when there's an order that's needed. As far as where we're at, we span across the globe. We're headquartered in just north of Charlotte in North Carolina. That's where we started, but over the past 13 years have expanded through the rest of the United States. We also have Insentra Canada, in XenTegra Canada, and then India. So for some of our services, we have follow the sun support. So whether you just need a little bit of help at a local level or have global requirements, we can meet all of those for you. Our main mission is to engage, listen, and deliver appropriate technologies to clients of all sizes. So instead of just I'll just be blunt because I've done this for a while, the latest shiny ball of what is running through the media. It is what's actually paying attention to what's right for our clients, paying attention to what their needs are, what they're saying, and then finding the right solution, whether that's product-based, services-based, or ongoing managed services, regardless of the size of your organization. VAR 2.0 is what we're calling it because we wanted to move past the typical value-added reseller. The main focus of that was the reselling, where we believe in a true partnership and being a real partner for you and your organization. Part of how we do that is around our community. We have events like this. We put on a lot of events because we want to deliver information, value, keep you up to date on what's going on out there. I know for the first half of my career, when I was focused on just getting work done within healthcare, financial services, and education industries. I didn't have time to know to keep up on everything that was going on. So we have a lot of education. We do events in person, virtual, to try and keep you up to date, and also create a community around IT because it is a small world. Another part of what we do is, to get you to conferences. We offer 90% off industry conference passes. Some of those you can see a little bit in the background. One that's of particular importance to me is Microsoft Ignite, which is coming up this November in San Francisco. So if you're interested in getting 90% off conference passes, we can follow up on that because that's where you get the latest and greatest and also have an opportunity to network and meet other peers. We also do complimentary micro assessments where there's no charge, but we come in to show our expertise. And if there's certain areas of your environment where you're like, things are there, it's working, but this isn't acting like it should be. We should be getting more out of this. Logon time shouldn't be this long. It shouldn't be this hard to do this or that. That's where our micro assessments come in. So we'd be happy to follow up with you on those. And really, over the course of the last 13 years, we've been building a one-stop shop. So for whatever your needs are, if you're going to the cloud or continuing in the cloud, great. If you also need to keep things on-prem, we have hosted options. We do managed services. We can do round-the-clock support. Of course, we sell products. And then for options regarding near and offshoring with our Canada and India subsidiaries. And I think this is one of, there's a lot of the words that we can just put on the slide, but when it comes down to it, one of my fellow practice directors, Phil Sellers, like to say, a bit like Ace Hardware, a little more specific, bringing a little more knowledge than just a big box store that has everything on the shelves, but it's hard to get the service and the information that you need. Digging a little bit deeper into that, a little bit across the different practices that we have for managed services, modern applications, network and security, modern data center, modern workspace. That's actually where my practice, Microsoft, falls under. And then also serving small and medium businesses. And then across the practices, I like to kind of call this a little bit of a menu slide of the different areas that we focus on within each discipline, the ways that which we can engage for deployments, consulting, and managed services, and the different areas that we that we help in. And from a managed services perspective, Brian Clark, would you rather have a brand new pilot on your plane or a pilot has flown 1,000 times? That's where we like to bring our experience to bear, working with you in a partnership. We try to follow a pretty simple blueprint. Best vendors, top consultants, managed services that tie everything together, and a lot of real world experience to improve your environment, reduce your spend, fewer clicks, less latency, less lag, more flexibility, better productivity within your environment. And as well as, we deal a lot in the public sector and commercial sector. In addition, we also have our nonprofit arm, which is XenTegra Cares, which is a mix of both working with nonprofits to help and meet them where their budget and resource needs are, but also doing community events to give back to the community, whether it's within an area of our headquarters or any of the areas that we cover across the globe. So we like to give back with that. And just an example of some of the main partners that we work with, we cover a lot of different technologies. Find best of breed can also help with, hey, we're interested in X, Y, or Z, and we can recommend and then also give information on our experience with those. And that's led to a number of awards that we've won over the years and continue to as we continue to provide the XenTegra difference. So, okay, that was enough about us. Now we're going to move into the main event, which is Matt Kaplan. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot to the next slide, right, Matt? Where you want to be?
Yeah, great, Andy. Thank you so much. Just checking you can hear me correctly. Good.
Yep, I can hear you. Yep. Good.
Great news. Thanks, Andy. And good afternoon, everyone. What I'm going to go through today is about a 30 to 40 minute demo, a live demo. So let's hope the demo gods are good to me today. And to show you a service in and around the management, effective management of Azure and M365 in order to drive cloud and IT excellence, as it says on the screen. So we've created the service to solve the problem of the complexity in and around your Microsoft cloud environment. Very often that's highly complex and that software estate needs to run optimally in order to get you the best return. So customers typically spend many hours trying to understand what they have, is it best fit for what they do, and most importantly, can it deliver to their changing needs of their business. So it's very easy to onboard. We'll go through that a little bit later. Very easy to use and maintain. It connects to multiple data points across a number of resources. And we provide that access to insights. That's quite a critical thing. Access to insights that can open up immediate opportunities for cost optimization and resource efficiency. Typically, here's a good stat, a first stat that you want to remember. Typically, we see savings in the region of between 19 and 37%, instantly releasing those funds for other projects within your environment. And typically that lands around about 28%, 28 to 29% initial benefits from the service back to you. Okay. And as you can see on the screen there, our central message is in around optimization, security, and control. So releasing that that kind of wasted IT spend to be spent in a better way to deliver maximum value. From a security perspective, it's definitely securing the enterprise for critical functions of your business and succeeding. Succeeding is being able to maintain a single view and an accurate view, that's important, that keeps your business in control of its resources and possibly not the other way around and so forth. So I'm going to jump into a demo now. Just give me a second to set up the screen if you can. Should be coming up. All right, good news. Right, just confirming you can see the screen, Andy.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, great news. Thank you so much. All right, so this is the landing page on the service that we call Opticus. I'm just going to reduce this so you don't see me and Andy in the background there. And this dashboard, if you will, up front is customizable. We call these little widgets that you can move around and add to the screen. But initially, from get-go, we're seeing an Azure screen here, and we're seeing an M365 screen that we can toggle to. And straight away, we're seeing some financial trending. We're seeing some forecasting. We're seeing some forecasting against budget, and we're seeing some actual spends. We're seeing a toggle and trend over time. The first thing you might notice is there's 12 months of data. That's very interesting because in Microsoft world, you only see 3 months of data. So very good for CFOs and for IT execs to have a 12-month view to be able to trend forecast forward very well and also look back as well. And then there's a short little savings view down at the bottom here. Again, we're going to jump into a lot of the detail now. In the 365 space, similarly, what my spend has been, has it gone down or up in the previous period? Are there savings? Or there's recommendations. So this will be good. And we're going to dive into this a little bit today, when my spend overview is, and then a very high level view of operations and security as well. Okay. And we call out things like secure score, MFA capability, and some external file sharing from a security perspective. And we talk around accounts and identity in the operations space. On the left-hand side of the screen here, what we're able to see is Azure, Microsoft, and then some metrics and auditing. I'm going to jump into these various sub-items now and drill into them for the next kind of 30 to 40 minutes. If you've got any questions, please pop them in the chat, and Andy will call them out as we go through. So from an Azure perspective, we want to see pertinent information that's relatable to what we do in the business. So we're able to create personas within this environment. So you might be a CTO and you might want to have a specific view about simplification and security. Or you might be a CISO and you might be specifically interested in the security aspects or the security control and give them and give you a rounded view of compliance, as an example, or vulnerabilities. Or you might be a CFO and you're specifically interested in cost optimization and cost savings and effective optimization. Or you might be a sysadmin looking for optimization opportunities in a technical stack. So personas are a really good thing here, and you get access to what you're allowed to and able to see and of value to you, and things that aren't, you don't have to see either. From a cost overview perspective, for those that struggle to see some color changes on the screen, there's various colors changes from green to pink and then on to dark red later on. And those are showing us cost differentials and cost changes. So red means something's gone up, and green means it's gone down, okay? So straight away, as an example, my eye is drawn to, from September to October here, something changed in this production environment on this subscription that jumped my cost up. And you can see in the background, toggles are coming up and various screens are coming up, which I can drill into and have a bit more detail. But straight away, I want to go and see, gosh, what happened here to here? And I can drill into this screen here and straight away see in my North European office, something jumped from here to here in September. I want to see what that is. Or Power BI jumped from 2.6 to 4.5 over this period of time. Another one click on this particular resource, it jumped from 2.6 to 4.5. And I can straight away see through 3 mouse clicks that Power BI was enabled on this period and jumped straight away. 3 mouse clicks, very quick to be able to see. Remember, we're still on the summary page. I'm also able to see my top 5, what called meters, what's costing me the most money. And there's that Power BI. My storage is second from the top. There's some VMs, application gateway, and some backups. And here's some trend at a very high level. We're going to jump into much more trending shortly. Are there opportunities to optimize? Yes, they are. Let's see what those are. You can see while it was building in the background, it's got a Power BI backend, which is really, really good. So we can strip that data and present it in a very user-friendly UX perspective. There's some opportunities to save here. Straight away from a perspective, I can see there are estimated yearly savings of between $15,000 and $43,000. That's got my attention straight away. Where are those savings? Well, they're across things like reserved instances or VM savings plans. There's a tiny little bit around hybrid benefits. Hey, I can see I've got some zombie resources sitting in my Azure environment. What's a zombie resource? If I hold my mouse over this little icon here, it'll tell me that it's an opportunity to save, possible savings in this particular space. A zombie resource in and around Azure could be a disk or a VM that's sitting there that hasn't been used for a while as an opportunity, as an example. And here's some VM opportunities. And we'll jump into this list a little bit later. And then from a forecast perspective, I can see where my planned forecast is going to be going. There's a lot more information detailed to come. These are just high-level summaries. We use 2 different types of forecasting, one called a linear regression and one called a straight line year-end forecast. The one uses a 6-month worth of billing data, and straight line uses 30 days of the average cost. And we use those to compare to get the most accurate. You can see they're there or thereabouts, the 2 different methods of forecasting, okay? We'll pop back to that shortly. Back to our optimization opportunities. I'm very interested to see what those were. So I just want to come back to the optimization opportunities tab and see what that detailed list is of optimization opportunities. Straight away, I'm jumping in here. And if you look down here, I'm looking at various trigger descriptions and I'm looking for trigger actions. Okay. So we've got a low disk. In order to fix that, I need to review this disk on this resource, or I need to move this app to this resource. Or, hey, I should be using standard SSD disks instead of high performance disks as an example. Here's some idle databases. My consumption is quite low. I might want to look at that. Consider adding a savings plan, for example, or buy one virtual machine. All of these triggers and actions, you could think about pushing them to service desk and driving a body of work to reduce your cost and get better optimization. Again, as I go through the demo today, I'm going to use the word stream or projects. Think about multiple different opportunities that an exec can guide an IT manager or a system admin to focus on for the next period of time. And XenTegra will work with you as the customer to drive those continuous service improvements. So for example, the next 3 months, what's of critical importance to you could be cost optimization. We really need to get a handle on cost optimization. We're coming up for an EA update as an example. That's our use case. We're renewing our EA. We really want to focus in and around our licensing. Or we're coming up as an example for a digital transformation program. That should be the focus for us. Or team, we've got all our hybrid workers sitting at home, or a new wave of hybrid workers. We really want to focus in and around hybrid working as an example. So the various streams can be kicked off from the various recommendations to save or optimize and be pushed into service desk for ticket handling and so forth. On the left-hand side, you'll be able to see there's an inform, optimize, and operate. We're still under the Azure view over here. And if I jump into inform, I want to see where my costs are being allocated. At the top of the screen here, you'll see all these various menu items, which will be drop-down detail. Now I'm starting to get into the CFO land. Where are my savings opportunities? Where am I spending money? Okay. At any time, if there's a screen that you don't know how to use, there's this little video icon up here, a video guide. And if you click it, it would pop out a specific screen. This is a just under 3-minute little video saying exactly how this particular screen in the background works. So the enablement of the service is wonderful, and it teaches you along the way on how to use the service. And once you pair that initially with a XenTegra managed service, as an example, like the first 2 or 3 months, let us handhold you until you're kind of self-sufficient. These videos are great to enable your team to get up to speed quite quickly on the environment. Okay. Straight away, again, I can see my costs and I'm able to drill into them. You might notice something called smart tags and Azure tags. So Azure tags are what they are, the tags that have come from Azure. Smart tags allow us to jump into a little greater and more granular level of detail. We can be quite specific about who a resource belongs to, or who a subscription belongs to, or who a particular VM belongs to, or who a particular disk belongs to. So you can align it to a line of business, a group, a team, a function, a geographic location, whatever it might be. And we then are able to compare costs and allocate costs and charge back those costs to those lines of business, which is really good for CFO and COO to be able to do good cost containment and cost allocation in the business. Okay, very, very good. So we're able to see exactly where particular lines of business are spending money, as an example, and what are they spending it on: storage, Power BI, backup, etc. So you can align projects or initiatives or resources to groups. We're able to see in our subscriptions where our various subscriptions are spending money, and we're able to dive into all of those again in a much more granular level of detail. We're able to see reserved instances and usage in and around reserved instances and recommendations to say further. Hey, why are we on pay-as-you-go here when you could use a 1-year or a 3-year reserved instance as an example? Or, hey, this reserved instance expires on this date. It's quite efficient right now. You could save X amount of dollars on the right here if you moved to a 3-year term or a 1-year term. So there's a lot of information in and around reserved instance and opportunities to rationalize and save in your reserved instance. It's going to show us our active orders over the last period of time, and we're able to slice and dice this data as well. We're also able to jump into our detailed VM list as well and see that it has a reserved instance recommendation, that it's got coverage, how the cost versus the computer's working out, how the cost per day is, and the time on that reserved instance. Okay. We're able to jump into all of these details at the bottom here, looking at the groups, the locations, the resources, and how many VMs they have aligned to them, and the quantity of those hours. All the way up at the top here, we're able to go into reserved instance contracts, marketplace, EA, and then there's a small view initially in and around security costs here. which is showing us where our security costs are, specifically around these meters and categories where I'm spending money around security. We've got a detailed list later on, which I'm going to jump into. So just bear with me. So what we're doing here on the left is we're bubbling up insights. Where is my money being spent right now? I'm still around cloud usage and cost optimization. Where is my money being spent? A lot of this data is quite hard to find in Azure. I'm not going to lie to you and say it's not available. It is available in Azure, but it's really difficult to find. And what we've done here is bubbled it up into a very nice interface and easily accessible at any time. Okay, so this is at a click of a button every day, throughout the month, you're able to see a rolling update of data as well. Okay, we're able to see where our usage is by tag, our usage by a group, and where all bill changes are across geographies or resource groups, etc. Okay, so this information is great for CFO again, really hard to find initially and difficult normally to skim in this type of interface, if you will. Just quickly touch on geography just to show you what it looks like from a spread perspective. So where my Azure regions are, if I have multiple regions or multiple locations, and where my top spend is. Okay, and you're able to drill into various of these and go into them in more detail if we want to. Okay, and they're all linear. That will change as we click through. From a data ingestion perspective, we're going to do an alignment between smart tagging and Azure tagging and seeing where our costs are aligned as well. Okay, so what it's doing here is doing a comparison between smart tags and Azure tags and able to see where our spend is and where our tags are aligned to. Okay, how can we manage our shared costs? Are things around Kubernetes, Databricks, and other shared costs. So if you're a Kubernetes house, we've got a lot of good information in and around Kubernetes usage and cost allocation as well. Per pod, cost allocation plans, cluster overviews, as you can see. We can create budgets in and around this. I created a budget just last night, just as a test to show. We can create a budget for a subscription or a resource or a project. Marketing might come to us and say, spin up a new disc for this new campaign, and we can create a budget of $10,000, $1,000, whatever it might be. And then we can put triggers against that at 50, 70, and 80%. So we don't get bill shock when that resource goes crazy. And then at the end of the month, we've spent 30 grand or 40 grand on a resort, on a campaign or a resource that we didn't think, that we didn't allocate costs to from a budget perspective. So budgets are nice with tags and triggers, and we're able to add them on the fly, what they are, how they're enabled, what the scope is, as an example, against a subscription or a tag or a billing account, and we can put a value against it as well, what we want to do. Very useful. Tag budgets, which is good. Performance tracking and forecasting. This is a little bit more detail into forecasting current year and how we're going to end. So when I normally show this to CFOs, they are quite excited about the visibility and the granularity of the data, and how you can screen scrape this and put it into board packs or exec packs is of good value as well. Okay, so when we start drilling into our SQL databases, if you look on the right of the screen here, as I start drilling into specific SQLs and particular database options, all the screens will accordingly change and align to that particular resource and meter that I'm choosing. Okay, I'm able to look at forecasting. Again, those two ways of forecasting, either linear regression or straight line regression, and be able to see my actual trends of data going up and down. Again, you can see how the data is presented is in a very nice user experience and user interface. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. Where my costs are going, what my forecasting is, what my change is per forecast. Right, that was just the inform. Where's my money? Now how I can optimize my money and how I optimize my my resources. We're still under Azure, and we're saving some time a little bit later to get into the M365 stack. So here are my opportunities to save, my recommendations. I can go into a detailed list and straight away come and jump down here, which I showed you earlier on about adding disks, moving this app, here's some idle VMs. So we're able to deep dive into all of these different options down here. Now, specifically, I'm not going to go into all of them, but here we can jump into specific VM optimization, SQL resizing as an example, disks, whatever it might be. There's a lot of opportunities to deep dive. And again, send off to IT, send off to service desk to go and optimize. And that could be the focus for the next period of time. Hey, I want to look at some technical optimization. I've looked at some costs already, but where are some technical optimization opportunities in my Azure environment? Hey, I can use Azure disks with zone redundant storage to get better resilience and availability. Down here, hey, let's use standard or premium tier on this particular subscription in order to get the maximum result. I need to create an Azure health check here, or enable soft delete, or use a NAT gateway. So there's a lot of opportunities to get best practice. So again, XenTegra wants to drive best practice within your organization, and they will work with you to kick off those streams of work. Should we focus on cost optimization in the next quarter? Why don't we have a separate tier around top recommendations in your Azure space to get best practice, as an example, to align to a compliance standard, which we're going to talk a lot about a little bit later as an example. So a lot of information and assistance in and around best practice and optimization in your Azure environment. Hey, how do we operate this? Let's look at some log analytics and Azure activity log. So we're in the operate function of Azure now. Now we're possibly looking at system admin or IT director or head of information systems. Where can I see where my spend is and where my data is being used? Okay, all right. And are there any areas? This is quite an interesting one, Azure activity logs. What I'm able to see here is a direct correlation between IT and business. And if I can get my IT individuals to start thinking that changes, adds or deletes have a material impact on cost, I'm now aligning IT with business. So you can see here, this is redacted data. There's usernames that have been removed here, but it could say Mary, Jane, Bob, that are IT people. They did these actions, right actions. They created this disk, or they removed this, and it cost on this resource, and it cost us this amount of dollars. That's really important. So it's gone into every single VM, and it's pulled out the event viewer from these right actions, or if we scroll down here, delete actions, and there were some savings there, or some additional costs there. That's pretty impactful, and there's a nice alignment between IT and business. Max, for those of you that don't know, are Microsoft Azure consumption commitments. Like a reserved instance, when you say to Microsoft, I'll buy the server for 3 years or 1 year, you can also make commitments on your consumption, and they give you lower rates there as well. Any recommendations that the system provides and that you effect and you put into place get added to your savings tracker. And this is, again, a good way for IT to go back to business and say, hey, over the last month or quarter, we implemented 23 changes or recommendations, and we saved business X amount of running costs per month. So we're able to keep a check on our savings tracker as well, which is quite nice as well. From a health check perspective, at any time throughout the day, month cycle, we're able to go to a health check. Now, we use this when we work with XenTegra and their customers on a regular basis. We sit down with you on a monthly basis, and we use this screen to drive conversation. Where are there opportunities to optimize? Where are there savings? And it's a nice overview. Later on in this presentation, you'll see just by attending today, you qualify and you've got access to a complimentary health check. So XenTegra will do a complimentary health check on your tenant at no cost to you, and this is what you will receive as a deliverable, this view from a health check perspective. It'll show you where your subscriptions are, where your costs are, where your forecast opportunities are, where your opportunities to save are. So it'll build this out, what your tagging looks like. Just wait for the tagging to open. Are there untagged opportunities? Here again is another project or another stream to kick off. Why have I got 189 untagged resources? If I can get better at that, I can get better cost optimization and better allocation of costs. So again, IT director or CTO can push that as a project to service desk to start tagging resources. And at a very high level on this screen, a secure score from a health check perspective. Okay, what is healthy, what's unhealthy in my subscriptions, what resources, and where are there opportunities to improve my secure score. So that is all part of the health check that's built into the complementary health check that you all qualify for from attending today's webinar. But Andy will go through that a little bit later. Just before we jump out of Azure and into 365, there's a whole security dashboard called Guardian. We're able to deep dive into identity, network, optimization, threat protection. So if you don't have this type of visibility from the security advisor in Azure, here's a great view as well that you got access to in and around identity and all those various opportunities. Okay. Very important in and around human and non-human identity. Who's got MFA? Who's got privileged access management? Who's doing RBAC? Do all my administrators have MFA applied? When last did they log in? What are my assigned roles and who's got those roles? And if I scroll down here, here's Bob and Mary last logged in when at what date. If I scroll down here, gosh, here's an individual with an admin access but hasn't logged in for 330 days. Service ticket, please, to IT, remove that user. Straight away, we can see as an example. So there's various ways to use this data for maximum outcome and benefit. We've got governance and compliance. So if you're aligning to a certain standard like NIST or ISM or ISO 27000, we're able to help you in and around how your Azure environment aligns to that particular standard and where there are opportunities. So for example, these resources aligned to this Azure description or policy, have these policies applied, and are they compliant or non-compliant as an example. And we can choose a particular standard down here on the bottom right of the screen, CIS, could be NIST, it could be any of these frameworks, and we can align that standard to our particular environment as an example, okay, which is very useful, and be able to see the detail in and around what's compliant and what's not compliant. I'll try and just give you a quick example of compliancy before I jump to, so here's some regulatory compliance. Let's just jump into the detail. So here we go. Here are all the policies and the various description, and am I compliant or am I not compliant? And I can see across the various standards how compliant I am and where there's a gap to remediate. Again, project to IT. Hey team, over the next quarter or 6 months, let's try and improve our compliancy score on NIST or ISM, whatever it might be, on our Azure environment. Okay. Lastly, just before we jump off here, here's the security advisor, security alerts. And we're able to screen scrape, get this from the security advisor from Azure and jump into a bit more detail in and around security alerts, what those alerts are, and where we can action them. Okay. If we jump into 365, so 365 has a similar view. It's got an overview at the top, and then it's got inform and optimize, and then all the various detail underneath it. At a very high level, what I'm interested here is, am I licensed correctly? Am I over licensed? Where are there opportunities from a finance perspective to save? And then later on from a security perspective as well. How much am I spending per licensed account as an example? Who are my top X licensed users as an example? Or where am I spending most of my money in and around licenses? So here I'm looking, here's my category. Here's some dollars per month. Here's a concern. I'm only 48% assigned on this project P5 license. Why? Right click, drill through, give me the details. Here are all the users who have an enabled license. Have they actively used it or not? When did they last log in, etc. Very useful. And I can then be able to see if there are opportunities to save. Where are some opportunities for opportunities in and around cost optimization? So I'm going to get some recommendations here around savings, which is very important to me. Okay, so I might be oversubscribed as an example. Where have I oversubscribed? I've got excess licenses. Oh gosh, where are those from? So I've got project Power BI as an example. Let's go into Power BI. At your next opportunity, reduce your license by 60 for Power BI as an example. You're going to save this amount of money. Or Entra ID as an example. At your next opportunity, reduce the license qualities for this user by this SKU and save this amount of dollars. So again, a lot of recommendations and opportunities in and around license optimization and license usage. So here's some quick life cycle from joiners and leavers over the last period of time, okay? And enabled Entra and who's logged in and who hasn't, okay? And when they last logged in, and my distribution of licenses across the environment. I'm going to jump back to Copilot because I need to open a separate screen, but Copilot is going to give us an analysis of what we call candidate users and analytics in and around usage. This demo tenant doesn't have Copilot active users, hence why the data is not here, but I'm going to spend 2 minutes just towards the end, just showing you our own view of Copilot and how it looks at what's called candidate users. And so to look at analysis on usage patterns, who's using Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint, and through an algorithm, it's going to bubble up and say, these are what we call candidate users. That's nice for business and IT. So when business comes and says, hey, Mary or Jane or Peter wants a Copilot license for $30 a month, we can say, but actually they're not even using Teams, or they haven't used SharePoint for 3 months. Why would they get a benefit from Copilot, as an example? So it's good analytics in and around here. Under Inform, I can now jump into a lot more detail in and around license consumption and license details and license assignment. Again, we're in the 365 world, remember? So there's opportunities here to save on licenses and make sure I'm not overspec'd and I'm getting the best return on my license investment, okay? These are all redacted details here, but you can see there are optimization opportunities as well for all of these users and who's consuming what and where are licenses assigned and costs assigned. Okay, so here are all my licenses, here are my users, and I can drill into each one of those and see where they are being allocated. Here are my users with these licenses. And I can drill into this licensed user with all their particular SKUs as an example. So this licensed user has these licenses assigned to them. Okay. Under Optimize, there are recommendations in and around savings. So where are those savings? There's financial savings. There's 93 recommendations. I can jump into those, which we'll jump into shortly. There's recommendations in and around operations, and there's recommendations in and around security. Okay. So if I jump into quick financial, here are some oversubscribed licenses, oversubscribed accounts, zombie accounts, downgrade this project to from P3 to P1 from project. Here's an active member with inactive usage. Here's a zombie account that's enabled, but it's got licenses. We can save $54 if we do that. So these are all recommendations in and around finance opportunities. Here are some recommendations around operations. Disable this user and schedule it for deletion. Review and remove this enabled account as an example. So this is cleanup of Active Directory and all my user accounts. Very useful as well. And then lastly, from a security perspective, it's recommended to have MFA on this account. Disable this particular account. It's linked to a shared mailbox. Why do you have that as an example? So again, all of these are streams of work and recommendations to get best practice and the most efficient use of your spend in and around license optimization. I can have a quick look around products. Where's my product activation and where's my product adoption? That's going to be quite useful later on down adoption. Okay. So who's using accounts and against what operating system they're using them? This might help me in a Windows 10 to Windows 11 project as an example from a Windows perspective or operating perspective. Is there overlap as an example in product? Do I have an overlap in my environment? And what SKUs and where is there overlap, which is useful as well. Okay. From an identity perspective, I think I've touched on that enough. Just from a time perspective, I just want to jump into Intune and look at our device management in and around Intune as an example. Again, this could be a project in your space that you're looking to go to, and the analytics and information in and around Intune is of great value. What's my operating system compliance? Show me my device list and hardware list and alignment to different operating systems, of it's Intune managed or not Intune managed, where the manufacturer is, how it's getting trust, etc., and who's the user of it. Show me the device list and the operating system. This might help with the Windows 10 to Windows 11 uplift. These are all Windows 10 devices. This is kind of a mini asset register, if you will, if you don't have that in your space. From an Intune device perspective, who's using mobile application management? What policies are being managed by them? Give me an endpoint overview of those policies. So here, for example, there's some policies. These are all the different policy details and the applications that they're aligned to. Just want to quickly jump into the endpoint. Here's that detail around the various device count by manufacturer and model. When the devices last came in, some stale devices. There's a project to clean up stale devices straight away. My device name, serial numbers, and all this information around Windows compatibility and upgrade paths as well as OS versions. Okay. What apps are people using and where are those apps coming from? I'm able to see quite a detailed list of geographic use of them and access to them as well, which is interesting. Adoption, this might be quite useful. I'm not going to jump into all of these various products, but at a very high level, you'll be able to see I'm licensed for X, but actually are people using it? So I've got 10 Copilot licenses. Again, it's a demo and 100% of people are using it. That's good. Why is there such a low uptake, for example, on OneDrive or around Entra as an example? And I can jump into that. Maybe it's a line of business. Maybe it's a particular area of the business that's not using a tool or a new application, and we can do a bit of change or thought leadership in and around that business unit and help them uplift their adoption of the service. Okay. As an example, I'll just come into SharePoint. We're not going to jump into all of these in detail, but you're able to see user trends and site access, active versus non-active, trending over time. Again, information that's useful to drive projects and initiatives and adoption within the environment. Okay. Storage allocated as well as file count growth and who owns it and who's using it. Okay. Cloud apps. So what cloud apps are being used and when they were last logged in and from a line of business as an example. Okay, so all the cloud apps down here, non-Microsoft ones as well. All right. Who's using them and last login, etc. Quite useful from a cloud app perspective. A lot of information around Teams, Teams calling, Teams licensing, who's using Teams. This is quite an interesting one, social interactions. Who's using social interactions like chat, where are chats coming from? Are they, is it more video or audio? Is it regional? Is it over Wi-Fi or wired? Where is it coming from? Where are those interactions made up from? Okay. Last one I just want to show you is in around Guardian for M365. So remember, Azure had a Guardian. M365 also has a Guardian in and around the security dashboard. So again, another stream of work XenTegra would drive with you. Let's improve your data compliancy or your device secure score as an example. That could be a project or initiative in itself. How do we drive that? Where are there opportunities to improve? We can drill into it. We can try and get that secure score up from 73 to 77 or 78 this quarter. What do we need to do in order to drive that? And there are recommendations and remediations in order to drive that score up. Okay, very interesting data that allows us to kick off streams of work from CISO or CTO to drive an improvement in secure score as well. Okay, all right. And security looks at shares, endpoint devices, admin accounts, identities, insider threat from my users, who's sharing data, who's got anonymous links in their data. Again, another whole stream of work that you're able to kick off with. Okay. We're able to look at authentication methods and access control and privileged access. So that's important. Who's got MFA, who's logging in at what times, and who doesn't have MFA as an example. All my admins should. If there are anyone that hasn't got, that would kick off straight away an opportunity to save. Security assessment. This is the second last thing I'm going to show you, and then I'll pause, where we can drill in at a glance and specifically look at opportunities and recommendations. What I'm trying to just find, if I can remind myself, give me a second. Here are all the various security alerts that have come in. Give me a second. Particular screen I'm looking for is the screen here. My apologies. Recommendations are around security. So in and around security, I'm able to deep dive into the individual recommendations to enable MFA. At any time, there's a search function up here. If you type enable MFA as an example, and hit, oh, to the spelling mistake there, sorry, let's see if it finds, yep. How to enable MFA overview, authentication methods. I can come and drill, and it will take me straight to that particular screen. So the search function is very, very useful, and there's an ability to drill straight into the screen that you're looking for. This is the only service that we found that has FinOps, SecOps, and CloudOps services in and around it. So it's all built in with those three, which we think is very unique and quite a differentiator. So it's the FinOps, CloudOps, and SecOps opportunities that we haven't seen in any other service or tool set. Okay. And then lastly, just from an alerts and a metrics perspective, you can create alerts and metrics. You can send them off to various departments. You can create triggers, send them to IT when certain metrics go up or down to drive change within the organization. I'm just going to open a quick screen on another tab. Just give me 1 second. This is just on Copilot. I said I would come back to the Copilot view. It's not available on our demo account. So I just want to show it to you on our own environment, what it looks like. If you just give me a second. It's coming up now. So this is, as an example here, under XenTegra's live view. So I'm under XenTegra's view here, as an example. This is the Copilot information that I wasn't able to show you. So it'll show us candidate users. There are 3 likely or strong candidates to use Copilot. I can see who those candidate users are. It'll show me their usage and their access to the environment. So their product usage, which is assessed against their eligibility. So as we see an increase, for example, in Teams and SharePoint, it pops their candidate eligibility higher and higher. And I can drill into who those 3 are. Eric is one of them as an example. And he's a strong candidate based on, this is his actual trend or usage. He's been using these things way more recently. This is quite, again, good information for business and IT to align on that spend. Hey, I'm on a Copilot license. Well, let's justify your $30 a month and how you're going to use it. So here's particular trends and how the users are using the tool sets available to them.
So Matt, on that real quick. So that's actually, that last one was users with Copilot licenses and how much they're using the Copilot functions. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So somebody has
something?
licenses assigned, but they're really not using them.
Correct. And you can
that
see,
would be okay.
100%.
Great.
Good one, Andy. Thanks for calling me out there. I like it. Yeah. Users using having it assigned, but actually aren't using it. So we can see the particular usage where it is and maybe drill into it. Let's call me out and see me go find myself. Maybe I'll show myself up here. That's okay. Here I am. So here's my usage. Quite team strong, but I don't really use whiteboard at all. And my loop functions are quite low as well, as an example.
Okay.
Yeah, good. All right, Andy, I think I'm at the end there. I just know we've got a couple of minutes. Just want to see if there's any questions. I've been talking for about 40 odd minutes. What you can see, just in quick summary, team, is there's a vastness of information here. And it is quite difficult to digest, obviously, in 40 minutes, even if we have a number of hours. The point here is that there's so much information that we can kick off various streams of work to work with you, and XenTegra will work with you to drive that improvement in secure score, compliance, adherence to compliance, savings, whatever it might be. Those various projects and initiatives will work with you to drive those over a quarter, a half year, or whatever it might be. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, I'll just share. There were a couple quick questions. One is, what are some of the biggest surprises that customers encounter after going through using this tool?
So the first one that immediately comes to mind is the MFA. I think I'm going to push that quite a lot in the call today. CTOs and CISOs aren't aware of the extent of admin access in their environment, and or who doesn't have MFA or privileged access management assigned. So that kind of security in and around identity are a few gotchas that come out quite quickly. Oversubscribed, over provisioned resources is another one. I use the example, marketing spun up a project with high disks and big volume data, but it's churning cash, but the project was never shut down, as an example. So overspend on campaigns and resources. And then possibly thirdly, just an oversubscription of licenses and right sizing for maybe an EA uplift or renewal. That's quite a good gotcha as well, saying, hey, we didn't think we needed that many licenses or that particular SKU. It's useful to find out what actual SKU we need and what the recommendations are. That's possibly my top three, Andy.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then I think just maybe one more here because we're almost at time. What does the onboarding entail to basically connect the tool and get this data that you're going through?
Yeah, very good one. So it's very easy. It's literally 3 mouse clicks. So XenTegra will send out an email to an IT-aligned individual. That person needs to have rights on your tenant, like owner rights or admin rights to link the tenant. It's read-only access. As part of the email that you'll receive will be all the security controls in and around where the data is being read from, the API links, etc. So you set your CISO and security teams at ease about security. And literally it's 3 mouse clicks. M365 data takes 6 or 7 days to pull through, and Azure data takes about 10 to 12 days. And then XenTegra will come back after that period of time and play back to you that health check, that redacted health check, showing, hey, here are all your opportunities and optimization opportunities and savings opportunities. And you can see, is there meat on the bone? You know, is there 27% savings here? What is my possible realization of savings? And if that's something that you want to proceed with, then in order to unlock the data, it's not that we have it and we're not sharing it with you. The complementary health check doesn't show that data. If you then unlock it in a paid for engagement, we'll show you all the detail, the VMs, the resources, the users, the SKUs, everything. But as a complementary, it's a great inroad to say, hey, is there something here? Is there an opportunity to save? And where are those opportunities around zombies, resources, around VM optimization or SQL resizing or reserved instances, as an example? So that's a good next step for you on the call. You all qualify for a complimentary health check. And it's, literally 3 mouse clicks with all the security that your team can go through, and happy to talk you through that on a call. And 7 days and 12 days to suck the data in.
Okay. And we'll be following up with everybody who attended. So you can take advantage of that health check easily. Otherwise, I don't see any other questions. So I think we're at an end. Thank you all for joining, and we will be in touch. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And Matt, thank you again for joining us and taking the time to go through a lot of detail, a lot of screens, but then also, actionable information to get out of it. And I think that's the important thing with complex cloud systems these days. So
thanks so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.